The following podcast contains language and descriptions of graphic violence that may not be appropriate for all listeners. Discretion is advised.
I'm going home.
Keep it going. 42 years.
When are you going?
Home after 42 years of prison. I'm a free man.
Free man.
Yes. I'm going to my grandbabies, and then we're going to Disneyland.
You're now tuned in to San Quentin's Ear Hustle from PRX's Radiotopia. I'm Earlonne Woods. I'm incarcerated here at San Quentin State Prison in California.
I'm Nigel Poor, a visual artist who volunteers at the prison.
And together, we're going to take you inside. On this episode, we're talking to guys on their way out.
Earlonne, let's start with a clip from season 1. It's from the episode we did on the security housing unit.
The SHU. That's where they send you when you're fucking up in prison.
And it's incredibly isolating. Some guys spent so long in the SHU, they just couldn't take it anymore.
One thing about the hunger strike is that after about 6 days of not eating, you can taste what's on the inside of your system that you never tasted in your mouth before. That was a weird sensation that had me wondering, that's the only thing that I'm gonna survive on is what juices or liquids that's in my stomach that I'm tasting in my mouth.
Gus Lumumba Edwards spent 8.5 years in the SHU at Pelican Bay State Prison, and in season 1, he told us about a hunger strike there.
A lot of us lived on 1 cup of water each day, and I do mean 1 8-ounce cup of water.
That hunger strike led to big changes for how California uses the SHU. But that's not what we're talking about today.
Nope. What we're talking about is getting out. Gus Lumumba Edwards got paroled. He's out of here.
Yes, but before he left, we got him to come down to the media lab for an exit interview. Have you ever had an exit interview?
Nige, before we start working on this episode, I had never heard of an exit interview.
Okay, well, here's what it says on Wikipedia. An exit interview is a survey conducted with an individual who is separating from an organization or a relationship. Most commonly, this occurs between employee and an organization.
Most definitely, I've never sat down for an exit interview.
Okay, well, here's the idea, Earlonne. When an employee quits, the organization wants to know why, and they want to know what they can do better. And since the employees are leaving, theoretically, they can be more candid, because basically at that point, they don't have anything to lose.
The Ear Hustle exit interview is a little different. We're not looking to improve the organization. We want to find out how prison has changed guys like Gus, who's been employed here for a long time.
A long, long time.
40 plus years, 40 years and about 9 months.
What was the last car was out when you was out?
I had a 77 Nova / a 77 Coupe de Ville.
What music were you listening to?
I was listening to the Parliaments, the Temptations, the Dramatics, and of course I was listening to them on a CD, not a CD player, but an 8-track.
Man, that was a long time ago. I bet a lot of people listening have never even seen an 8-track player.
My dad had one when I was a kid.
I wonder if any of the old-timers in here have an 8-track.
I have yet to see an 8-track in prison.
Right, because you'd have to have the player too.
Right. But they had them back in the day, but I have yet to see one on my whole tour.
Okay, well, here's another clip. And this one comes from season 2, episode 1.
That was the episode about first experiences in prison.
I'm walking into reception and it's so loud. People are just yelling and screaming. And this one guy's like, "Hey, that's him." And I'm like, "What the fuck? Like, no way. Like, does someone like know me here?" And they're like, "Hey, that's that motherfucker that killed Ray Ray."
Chayne Hampton was not the motherfucker who killed Ray Ray.
No, he wasn't.
But he was in for burglary, and he recently finished serving a 3-year sentence.
We did an exit interview with Chayne just a few days before he left, and we learned that before coming to prison, he'd had frequent scrapes with the law.
Yeah.
He told us about the first time he knew he was really in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember my first time coming to jail, and they, like, handed me, like, the oranges. I'm like, "Oh, no, there must be a mistake." I don't actually sleep here. I just come in, and then you guys cut me loose, officer.
We're going to hear more from Chayne and from Gus. But here's one more piece of tape from someone who's out now. And he was actually also in season 2, episode 1.
The lucky episode. We should call it that.
Yeah.
2 of the 5 guys featured are now out.
It had been 5 years since I seen her, but 7 years since I've touched her.
Mike Thompson was talking about his mom visiting him in prison for the first time.
Do you remember how she smelled?
I do. She smelled like lavender.
Mike spent 30 years in prison for kidnapping. When he talked with us, he was in chill mode because he only had 22 hours left to go on his sentence.
We asked him about the best memory he would take with him from prison, but he didn't seem really into that question.
Nah, he was ready to bounce. Pew!
The best memory I would take with me from prison is my date.
He means his official release date.
There's a quote that T.I. says, you only remember 2 days when you come to prison. The day you came to jail and the day you got out. That resonates with me because everything in between, the good, bad, and the ugly, I'm kind of hitting the delete button.
Understandable, right?
Right.
But how do you delete 30 years of your life?
I don't think it's deleting 30 years of your life.
All right.
I think it's deleting 30 years of the bullshit that you went through. And Mike went through a lot.
Yeah, he did, no question. And we're going to hear more about that later. But Earlonne, I don't know about you, I feel like this place is really clearing out.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement these days. A life sentence used to mean you're here for life, but that's clearly changing.
Yeah, there's definitely been a lot of political, legal, and procedural changes.
Yep.
And some of the guys are getting out way sooner than they expected.
Yes, they are.
Well, at least in California.
And guys here in prison are spending a lot of time thinking about what it's going to be like when and if they get out.
Well, they have to.
They have to. I mean, they have to have a plan. The state requires that. If you want a parole, you have to be able to demonstrate that you're rehabilitated and you have an exit plan.
Right, like a place to live, you have to show support and a way of getting a job.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to get together.
Okay, well, let's bring in one more guy who sat down for an exit interview, and this is the first time we interviewed him.
My name is Anouthinh Pangthong, but I go by Choy. I've been in prison, matter of fact, 22 years today. So, yeah, I was arrested April 2nd of 1996.
Choy did time in a number of California prisons before ending up here in San Quentin. We asked him, what was the worst prison experience he's going to take with him?
It turned out to be not one experience, but something that happened again and again in all of the prisons he was in.
I would say this, this act is very dehumanizing, very degrading. What I'm talking about is stripping out in front of somebody. I have to get butt whole naked, in front of another man, and he's inspecting my body. I have to lift up, my parts and, bend at the waist and spread, right? Where I work at right now, every day we're stripping out. Yeah, I think for me, that would be one experience that, I would just leave here, I would bury it.
Can you tell us what brought you to prison?
So, when I was 15, on March 18th, 1996, I shot a man point blank in the head while attempting to rob him of his car. I was tried as an adult at 15 years old, and I received a 25 years to life sentence.
Do you think that was a fair sentence to get?
That's a real tough question. I have this, opportunity to be with my family again, and here it is. A family is shattered. A family doesn't have a son, right? I caused that. Yes, I look forward to getting out of here, but at the same time, a man's life is he's lost.
So to even get to that point of taking a life, like what was your mindset then that made you even consider that?
I didn't, you know what, though, really, I didn't care about myself. If I didn't care about myself, how can I care about others? 6 months prior to me murdering, 6 months prior to me committing this crime, my best friend was shot and killed, gang violence. He was shot in the head on my driveway. I remember vividly kneeling beside him and holding his hand and just urging him to keep breathing. Half of his cranium was gone, and I can really see, his brains. And his eyes were just glazed, had this glazed look, and, his chest was heaving up and down, and here I am feeling so helpless and powerless at that moment that I couldn't help my friend. And so for the next 6 months, I was just living in this shame and guilt. Yeah, I was just powerless.
So how did you feel after you did someone the same way that someone did your friend?
To be honest, I didn't have any feeling at all. I was really numb. It wasn't until very later on in life that I really felt some type of remorse. This is how cold I was, right? My first years in prison, I blamed the victim for me being incarcerated. I went up to him and I demanded the car keys, and he didn't give me the car keys. He spun around, he turned his back on me, and I fired. Right? And I fired point blank at his head. And I was telling myself, and I was telling others, like, if he had only given me his keys, he would have been alive and I would not be in prison. That was where my mind state was at. Like no regard for human life at all.
When I shot my victim, I didn't have to do that. I could overpower everyone in that store by myself. But when she jumped in front of me and was screaming, that scared the hell out of me. That's when I fired that gun. And that's in my brain almost every day also.
Earlonne, these guys aren't leaving prison thinking they got away with something.
Right.
Gus and Choy carry some really heavy burdens.
They do, and those burdens got heavier over time.
I'm not the same person I was then, but as I did come to prison, I got even worse of a man. It got worse and worse for me, which means I committed more crimes after I got to prison.
Gus came to prison in 1978. That was back in the day when race riots was a way of life, even here in San Quentin.
Every time you come up out of your cell, we had to wrap hardcover books around our waists just to go to the yard, just in case something happened. That knife is not going to penetrate into your body just as easily. So they were training me and others to learn the anatomy of the body, learn self-defense, so in times of melees, you'll know how to defend yourself, you'll know how to attack. So when you're thinking about surviving, you're almost like a trained soldier, so to speak, that has to do what you must do on command. The command is, as soon as you come out your cell, it's going to be a riot tonight, you got to do or die. That made me more and more want. The more you got involved in the riots or stabbing people, the more you wanted to get into it, especially when you know you're getting away with it. Because when they throw gas canisters and it's thick with cloud, and when the smoke's clear and there ain't no holes in you, you can't wait for the next time to do it again because you know you're good at what you do.
That kind of violence is part of prison politics.
And those are the unwritten rules amongst prisoners. violating them can have dire consequences.
And Mike knows a lot about that.
I ain't gonna say I loved it, but it was an opportunity to kind of weed out, the strong and the weak. And I have a sense of ego, pride, or whatever. Like, I'm not gonna be viewed as weak. And so I wanted to be viewed as the dude who participated, the dude who wasn't just a follower, dude who kind of pushed the line and what have you. And so when it came to prison stuff and gangsters kind of stuff, I was all in.
So what is prison politics?
So prison politics are miserable dudes, in my opinion. They're bored, and they done read 3 books, and now they think they're Machiavelli. It's no different than the street. Prison politics and street politics, it's just gangster shit.
Sometimes it hurts to even think of it, because I've been through everything that you can imagine experiencing in prison. And most of that was brutal, violent. Seeing a person murdered my first 3 weeks in prison. And when I seen this man get murdered in front of me during a riot, I heard the man's last words. And to this day, I can't even get those last words out of my mind. And that's when I knew it was a wake-up call for me to survive the most harshest conditions in California, which was racial riots throughout that era in the 70s. So believe me, it's been rough. Sometimes I hate even thinking about it, Sometimes I had nightmares about it many times. Waking up in the middle of the night crying on my pillow.
You said that you remembered the last words that guy said before he died?
Yes.
What did he say?
His last words was, "Somebody help me, please." And just the image of how he died was, he was stabbed by a guy with some 20-inch arms, big, bulky, muscle-bound guy. And he stabbed him so hard, he flew up in the air, and he left a knife in him. And he's just laying there on the floor and this was a butcher knife that was stolen out of one of these dining rooms back in those days. And I'm just hearing him just laying there with his eyes open and just said, "Please, somebody help me." Those were his last words. And there was just nothing I can do, because we're in the middle of a melee, and I had to fight for my life as well. But that's a memory that's, to this day, I just can't get rid of.
So I have 7 to life. So I've been going to board since 93, 5 years after I came to jail. So no one was getting out. I mean, the governor at the time said on the record, if you commit X amount of crime, you should do the rest of your life in prison. So everybody was just, hey, we're here. And that was the mantra in prison. Don't worry about the streets. The streets don't exist. You're here. This is where you're going to be. Make it work. That was my mindset for 20 years. And then just being, getting older and evolving and kind of maturing and seeing who you were for so many years of your life and kind of trying to make it that hard choice. Do I want to be that dude when I'm 60? And after about 21 years, I basically said, I don't want to keep being the dude who kidnapped Alvin Freeman.
It got old getting locked up. It got old getting handcuffs slapped on you and getting thrown in a cell. All of that got old. And it took me almost 38 years to get to San Quentin. And when I got to San Quentin, it was a whole different environment, a whole different feel. And they had something to offer that other prisons didn't. And those were self-help programs.
We've said this before, and we'll say it again.
Yep.
In recent years, San Quentin has become a prison that prisoners in California want to transfer to.
San Quentin is not in the boonies. It's in the Bay Area.
Right.
And that means that a lot of volunteers come in.
Like you.
Yep, like me. And because there's so many volunteers, there's a large array of therapeutic programs that guys can take part in.
And I really wanted to get through these programs to see if I was still dangerous. Because in the back of my mind and in my heart, I knew I was. But sitting in these groups with individuals who've walked in my shoes, who've done decades in prison. Also, I'm watching these men cry, shed tears, get emotional, explaining their stories of what they've been through and what it feels like to try to transition into a new man. And I didn't agree about seeing men cry in front of me until about a month went by and I had to tell my stories, and I was in tears because I knew we all had something in common. We all felt that if we don't transition into a new man and really understand what it is to eradicate that criminal thought and behavior, we're probably gonna all die in prison.
So Gus and Mike have both spent decades behind bars, and they've changed a lot over the years. Let's go back to Chayne, who spent only 3 years in prison.
We got him to talk about how prison changed him in a relatively short period of time.
Yeah, I was trying to do what I was doing on the streets in here, and it wasn't working for me. I've never been able to get clean or get off drugs for my whole life, right? And I remember being in West Block with all these lifers, 5 tiers high of just like junkies and dope fiends that just like will never get out of prison, just doing what they had to do every day to get that one morphine pill or like, whatever, and it was just like, and I was using, and there's nothing fun about this environment. Like this is terrible right here. And, but that still didn't make it click. I like went down to H unit and I was still using. And then I got in a fight with this dude over some numbers. You know what I mean? And
Chayne got into a fight over drug payments.
And Chayne wasn't going to pay twice, so he started punching windmill style, and that didn't work so well.
Nope, but it did get him to realize that things had to change.
And being like 150 pounds shooting up dope is not, that you're not able to protect yourself. Dangerous things happen. And then after that, I was like, dude, I surrounded myself with a bunch of people that weren't using because I didn't want to. I was sick of doing it. I'm in an environment where like you need to kind of have your head on your shoulders, and you need to be able to protect yourself. I've been doing drugs since I was like 13, and then I started shooting dope when I was like 26. And I'm 33 now. I just was like, I can't. I'm burnt.
So this is the longest?
Longest time. I mean, the longest time I've ever chosen not to get high. Like I've been to jail before, and like I'd be there for like 3 months, and like we just didn't have any dope, right? But here there's tons of dope all day long. You get high, and I just I have money for it, but I just choose not to. I'm not. There's no part of me that wants to do it.
What are you gonna miss?
When I leave, I'm gonna miss my friends. When I leave, I'm gonna miss. To be honest with you, like the structure, how every day is more or less the same. Like there's a lot of comfort that comes in just every day. You know what to expect. Even though you don't know, like sure, like someone could like stab you, but like more or less every day is the same. You go to work. Same thing for dinner. Like, I don't want to have a bunch of choices. That makes me nervous, I guess. Like, getting out, like, and first day, like, what do you want to do? And it's like, I don't have an answer to that question. I don't know nothing. Like, I don't want to seem like a wet blanket, but, yeah.
So what's your thinking, man? Like, today you walk out to R&R and put your parole clothes on.
So my thinking is like, so I've been to a lot of prisons since I've been incarcerated. Like almost 20. So it's just another transfer, without sounding too coy or whatever, but it's just, I'm leaving this prison and I'm going to a new environment, and I'm used to adapting to like environments where I don't know anyone. So just, I'm here, and then tomorrow I'm somewhere else, and I'm gonna make it work. So I don't have any like expectations of how it should be. I just want it to be peaceful, and hot food on every corner, as they see on the commercials. And I'm taking it one day at a time. I ain't really tripping.
How do you feel leaving prison?
I feel like I accomplished like a lot. I feel like I'm in a better headspace than I've ever been. I'm nervous though, because I've never been sober. And so it's like, not only am I like leaving prison, but I'm also leaving prison sober. So on the streets, it was hard for me to ever like get clean because I didn't know what getting clean looked like. I like lived in a tent, like I would break into cars. Like where do you go from there? I would just be sitting there, it was bad. Now I say I'm not going to use, every day by noon, I'd be so sick that it was like I only knew, of course, I'd get high. And I was hurting people and stealing property and perpetuating a cycle. And so now being here and not using for so long, I'm able to see what a life could be like not using.
Did you think you were going to die in prison?
Yes. Yes, I think I was going to die in prison because I lost hope on ever getting out. Until that last day, well, until this last parole board hearing, that was an experience that I'll never forget for the rest of my life. I mean, even though I had to go in there, I had to sit through 4.5 hours. They dissected my whole life from the age of 6 to the present day. And when they finally told me that you are no longer a threat to public safety, it was, my whole body felt something. The minute they told me that, my whole body got light, real light, and at the end of the hearing, I got up to shake the commissioner's hands. I had to look on the ground to see if my foot was still planted on the ground because I thought I was walking on air. And the commissioner said, "You feel light, huh?" I said, "Yes." Yeah, we get that sometimes.
Like we said, when Gus was last a free man, it was a different world. Different cars, different music.
And different clothes.
Bell bottoms, high boy collar shirts, what we used to call elevator shoes.
Hey, you looked good.
What was your waist size?
My waist size was 29. I was a little slim, bony guy. Well, slim.
What is it now, 30?
40.
No, it's not.
38. It's 38.
You're still slender as heck.
For real, it's 38. I had my measurements the other day for my dress out.
What is a dress out?
A dress out is your clothes that you have to order from your loved ones on the streets to have sent up here that you want to wear home, because I assured them that I don't want to wear nothing home that's state underwear, no state socks, no state tennis shoes, no state nothing. Everything I want has to come from the streets that I'm going to be wearing up out of here, and it's got to look good.
Oh, so what is your outfit going to be, your dress outfit?
Well, I told them I wanted a burgundy shirt, gray pants, and a nice pair of shoes, and a nice coat.
So, what are your thoughts, man? The first thing you want to do when you step out of San Quentin?
The first thing I want to do after they take me to eat an omelet, something I haven't had in a long time, a nice juicy omelet, But the second thing I want to do is go visit my mother and father's gravesite and just have a few words with them and apologize for ruining my life at an early age. Second thing I want to do is, only God knows, just take me to a high top mountain and just let me look around the Bay Area. I want to get a beautiful sight of what I'm going to be faced with out there.
E, there's a lot he's going to be faced with out there.
Yeah, he's no longer sequestered.
That's right. But there's one thing I know they're all looking forward to.
What?
Women.
Hell yeah. What we have here is an all-male institution. Dudes, dudes, and more dudes. And most of us been thinking about, you know what, for you know how long.
A long time, I'm sure. Well, they may not have been getting any in here, but most of these guys that we talked to already had girlfriends and partners waiting for them to come out. So what kind of romance is waiting for you out there?
Oh, my girlfriend. So I'm really excited to see her. When she picks me up, I'm just gonna curl up in a ball in the back seat. Like how you do with dogs when you take them on long trips, you put a blanket over them so they think it's nighttime, and I'll just go to sleep, and then I'll wake up and I'll be free. She can just let me out of the back, and I'll run around until I tire myself out.
I am 37 years old. I am Laotian from Southeast Asia.
Choy was still single when he was getting ready to leave. We wanted to help him out, so we asked him to start thinking about what his dating profile might say.
I'm really outgoing, and I love to have fun. And I'm very, very, very caring and passionate about life. And, what I do in my free time, I love to dance. And I love the arts in theater and do Shakespeare.
Remember, Choy was a juvenile when he came to prison. His experience with the opposite sex has been, shall we say, limited.
Yes.
So my last relationship, with women was when I was 15, right? So now I'm getting out there. I'm gonna be with grown women.
How old are you now?
I'm 37, right? And so that's gonna be like, dang, man. It's like, okay, it's gonna get real quick.
I know. What are you imagining?
It's like jumping into the deep end. Like, okay, I imagine like it's gonna be like riding a bike. These all gonna come back, right? So,
Wait, but you weren't riding a real bike at 15.
I was riding a tricycle. I had a big wheel. So there was a big wheel. So you know what? I can't even imagine. So like in terms of relationship wise, yes, I'm more mature, mentally, and just knowing the respect level that I've gained,
All right, so if you're willing to go there, what do you think it's going to be like to be with a woman for the first time? What are you nervous about?
Oh my gosh. So the one thing that I would be most nervous about being with the woman after like 22 years is I'm just gonna be completely honest, right? Like the stamina time, like I've been trying to work out and run and all that just to keep stamina. But yeah, that's the thing that I'm more, 'cause that'd be embarrassing. I hit the finish line prematurely. Yeah.
Before Choy even gets to that finish line, he's probably going to have to go on a date.
And dating is something he has had zero experience with. And so naturally he's nervous about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to put out a disclaimer. Like, hey, look, I've been in prison for X amount of years, so I hope you don't have any expectations. Yeah, I say that jokingly, but at the same time, it's like almost like I just might have to do that.
Do not put out a disclaimer.
Put out a disclaimer.
Because once she finds out,
hold on.
no, listen. Once she finds out you ain't been on the market in 22 years, she gonna snatch you up. It's over. That's it.
No, man, hold on. Okay. Tell me more about that. What you mean? But I'm gonna get snatched up.
Well, because you fresh meat. You ain't been.
Yeah.
You ain't been bruised. You ain't been abused.
I'm ripe.
Erlon, I think you are setting him up for a big fall.
No, he gonna be good. Like he said, the tricycle, the big wheel, he gonna get back on the bike.
He's never on a bike.
He can imagine. He's been imagining for years. He watched the Spanish channels.
Well, I'm sure all of that is true. Okay, but what do you think in general? Do you think these guys are going to make it out there? I mean, I even hate to ask this. Do you think we're going to see any of them back in here?
Hell no. I'll say this. From my experience, guys that do over, whether it's 10 years or 15 years, they ain't coming back to prison. I think that's that mark where individuals like, damn, I done fucked off a chunk of my life to this bullshit. And I think it takes time for you to realize, one, you can't get none of that time back.
Right.
Two, you don't know when your real exit plan is on this earth. So
good point.
You looking at it like, shit, I ain't got too much time to do this shit no more. And you've grown up.
Yeah, I hear you, and I really want to believe that you're right. But what do you think are some of the most difficult challenges they are going to face out there?
If they don't have housing, employment, because a lot of times you're supposed to get a job before you get out.
Right.
And it's impossible. But you may know somebody that knows somebody to say, I'll give them a shot. So I think that is going to be tough for guys.
There's definitely going to be challenges, but fingers crossed.
No fingers crossed. These guys are going to survive. They're going to make it.
I feel that way too.
I know these guys are going to make it because as long as I've been here, I've only seen like 2 people with life sentences come back, and one because he was feeding his nose.
Oh,
he had a drug problem, but he could have left prison with a drug problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then the other guy, I think he had an argument with his spouse, and he came back for that.
Okay.
But for the most part, dudes out there doing good.
Thanks to Choy, Chayne, Mike, and Gus for sitting down with us for their Ear Hustle exit interview. They're all out of prison now, and we really do wish them the best.
Indubitably. When we come back, we have count time. That's when we play a little extra tape we really want you to hear.
I love this one.
This one was fun.
Count time. Morris. Mesa. 5-0. Villa. 28. Hicks.
Restore Justice. This is Anouthinh speaking.
Hey, Choy, this is Erlon, and
Hey, it's Nigel.
Hey, what's up?
How you doing?
I am doing really well, actually. Working.
yeah, he is doing really well. He's got a great job at a nonprofit called Restore Justice.
And he got a place to live. It's in kind of a rough area of San Francisco called the Tenderloin, but still, he got a place to live.
Right.
But we needed to catch up on the really important stuff.
Yes, we did. And luckily, there's one phone here in the media lab, and we got special permission to call Choy so we could ask him about his first date.
Yes, he met a woman in the mall. They went to dinner at a Chinese restaurant, and she told him some of her darkest secrets. And well, I don't know.
Hey.
I was like, okay, she's telling me all these things, when I got to talk about my history of my past, right, and what, and because I told her about the type of work that I do, and she seemed interested. She just really wanted to, how did I get, into my line of work? And so I told her, I'm actually affected by, the criminal justice system, and I told her, about, committing murder, being in prison for 22 years since I was 15, and her face just dropped. It's like her eyes just got wide and shocked, and it was like, dang, I don't think she was ready for that, right?
Well, I mean, on a first date, that's a lot to take in, Choy.
I know. I totally understand.
Yeah.
I think it was a combination. I think it was that. It's like.
But so how did the night end after that conversation?
Oh, so we walked. We actually walked, and I walked her. I walked her to the BART station, and gave her a hug, and she went on. She went her way, and I went my way.
A hug, no kiss?
Dude, after I told her what I did, bro, that already cut the night short.
Oh, man. Okay. There's got to be a moral in there somewhere.
Yeah, don't talk about your crime until, I don't know, the second date, second base.
Second base. Let's go with second date.
All right, I'm just saying. It's I don't know, we try our best to put our past somewhat behind us. But at the same time, we do owe people to let them know this is where we come from.
Absolutely.
When do you do that?
I don't know. I mean, we're all about disclosure, and I really applaud that. But in this situation, it's tough.
It is tough. But with practice, which should be fun, and a few more dates, which should be more fun.
Yes.
I think Choy is going to figure it out.
Yes, he will.
Well, that's it for this episode. And that's it for season 2.
No.
We're going to take a short break, but don't worry. We'll be back in September with season 3.
Hell yeah, we're going to be back because we have a ton more stories to tell.
In the meantime, we want to hear from you. So send us your questions about prison life, and you can also send us some ideas because we might end up doing one of those stories. So send it by a kite or a postcard or email us through our website, earhustlesq.com. Just look for the contact page.
Ear Hustle is produced by myself, Nigel Poor, and Erlon Woods, with help from outside producer Pat Mesiti-Miller, who comes in to work with the sound design team. This episode was scored with music by Antoine Williams and David Jossi.
Why you sound so sad?
Because I hate that this season's over. I would tell you, I'm exhausted and I need a break, but I'm not ready for season 2 to be over.
All the time.
I'm not.
All right. Curtis Fox is our story editor, and Julie Shapiro is our executive producer for Radiotopia. We want to thank Warden Ron Davis, and as you know, every episode has to be approved by this guy here.
We have made it through 2 seasons of Ear Hustle. I think I've aged a little bit, and man, it is amazing just how this thing has resonated with people, right? Just recently, I think one of the most interesting letters I got was from a guy who introduced himself as a 55-year-old white male, conservative, NRA member, and essentially all the stereotypes of people who wouldn't be interested in listening to the perspective of people inside the prison. And he thanked the administration here at San Quentin for allowing the space to exist. And so hopefully we've had a voice in helping some people to see things more broadly than what they have in the past. So long, goodbye until season 3, and I do approve this story.
So between seasons, make sure you keep up with us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Ear Hustle SQ. We'll be posting all kinds of photographs of people from our stories and just other images that have to do with Ear Hustle. Because you know, Earlonne, I am actually a photographer.
That's what you are. That's how you got here to this prison.
That's right. So keep an eye out for those. That's how we're going to stay connected over these next couple months.
And be sure to go to our website, earhustlesq.com, where you can sign up for a newsletter.
And you can also get yourself an Ear Hustle t-shirt.
Yeah. And I want to say thanks to all the listeners for listening in and sharing and commenting.
Amazing. We've gotten so many beautiful and thoughtful emails, and it's been incredible.
We sure do appreciate you.
Ear Hustle is a proud member of Radiotopia from PRX, a collection of the best podcasts around. Hear more at radiotopia.fm. I'm Nigel Poor.
And I'm Earlonne Woods. Thank you for listening.
Is there a male equivalent to Kegels? I don't know.
Radiotopia.